Mungkin makanan yang kita sama-sama suka. Yang satukan kita. Mungkin budi bahasa. Persaudaraan. Dan saling hormat buat kita selesa. Yang pasti, kasih dan sayang yang kita tunjukkan bila bersama untuk terus hidup bahagia di tanah air tercinta. Sebenarnya, semua itulah menjadikan kita, kita. Itulah artinya merdeka bagi saya. Sekian, terima kasih. Kamera rolling. Letak dekat atas kulit tu.
Macam ni?
Okay, 3, 2, 1, action! And cut! It's a good day, guys!
Good evening, I'm Haye and this is AWANI Tonight. The world mourns the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. We discuss her contributions and what lies ahead. More on that coming up. The government will look into the total number of parliamentary seats for Sabah and Sarawak, says Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob. He said this was among the issues raised in a meeting of the Special Council on the 1963 Malaysia Agreement, which he chaired yesterday.
Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Sabah and Sarawak Affairs, Datuk Seri Dr. Maximus Ongkili, previously said the meeting endorsed the move of restoring 35% of 222 parliamentary seats for the two states. This would enable Sabah and Sarawak to occupy 78 of the 222 seats. Other matters raised in the meeting included the economy and health in both Borneo states. The Prime Minister said Putrajaya was committed to develop Sabah and Sarawak in Budget 2023, which will be tabled on October 7th.
Meanwhile, former Premier Datuk Seri Najib Razak withdrew his civil suit against the government over charges of criminal cases against him linked to 1MDB. He, however, maintains his claims against former Attorney General Tan Sri Tommy Thomas in a civil suit.
Najib's counsel, Datuk Firoz Hussein Ahmad, had notified the High Court of his client's dropout in the suit against the government this morning. The Pekan MP, who is serving a 12 years jail term after losing in his SRC international conviction, did not give reason for the discontinuance. He is suing Thomas over 4 1MDB-related charges brought against him, claiming he was wrongfully accused. Najib alleges that the charges against him were part of a move planned in advance by Thomas during the Pakatan Harapan administration. On November 19th last year, it was reported that Thomas and the government filed applications to strike out Najib's lawsuit on the grounds that it was a collateral attack to derail his criminal court cases.
Malaysia saw an average of 3 daily suicides in the first half of 2021. In 2022, befrienders recorded an average of 84 distress calls per day, a 26% decrease compared to last year. Despite lower numbers, its publicity director, R.D. Ayadali, repeats the need for Malaysia to take action and decriminalize suicide once and for all.
And the Ministry of Health is pushing hard for it. So now it's up to the AG chambers to actually present it to the Parliament for the whole thing to happen. And yes, the delay is frustrating considering that this initiative was started years ago. But most of the resistance are coming from those who assume that without this law, there will be more people attempting and also dying by suicide. But as we can see, based on the police data there, if we are looking at just attempted suicide numbers, yeah, there has been an increase of 61.7% in suicide attempts over the years since 6 years ago. Yeah, so the fact that the law is there and attempted suicide rate is still rising, so it means that a new approach is needed, and not just to criminalize people who actually attempting suicide. So yeah, we just need to get rid of Penal Code 309 and focus more on preventive strategies, raising awareness, and more importantly, accessibility to professional help when necessary. Important to note that, and we've been talking about it like all these years, so it's time to actually take action and do something to prevent suicide, because suicide is actually 100% preventable.
We will go for a quick break. Stay tuned.
Ini masanya untuk Asia bangkit. Kami bawakan diskusi mengenai pasca pandemik, pemulihan ekonomi, teknologi tinggi, perubahan iklim dan banyak lagi. Saksikan agenda AWANI Asia bersama pakar dan koresponden Asia kami setiap Sabtu 9 malam di Astro AWANI.
Welcome back. In the UK, a period of national mourning has officially begun over the death of its longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. She will lie in state in Edinburgh and Westminster as part of 10 days of national mourning until the Queen's funeral is held.
Union flags will be lowered and flown at half-mast on royal residences, government buildings and military establishments, while books of condolence had opened at British embassies across the world. Buckingham Palace announced that the Queen died peacefully on Thursday at her Scottish estate in Balmoral at the age of 96. She reigned for 70 years and nearly 4 months, longer than any other monarch in British history. Her son, now King Charles III, is scheduled to address the nation later today, although no date has been set for his coronation yet.
Queen Elizabeth II was much more than Britain's monarch. She was sovereign to another 14 nations and a rare figure on the world stage who was almost universally admired, cutting through generations, social divisions and politics. British High Commissioner to Malaysia, Charles Haye, speaks to us about Her late Majesty's profound influence.
Well, it's a profound shock to me, as it is to all people who are of my age or are older, because she is the only queen, the only monarch that we've ever known. She's been on the throne for 70 years. So for me, my parents, she has been that absolute thread running through our lives, that rock that so much of the UK has been built on. And her passing, of course, not unexpected given her age, but it's not something that anybody can really prepare for. It's a profound shock to all of us, and a cause, obviously, of huge sadness.
Her late Majesty had visited Malaysia 3 times as Queen. According to His Excellency Charles Haye, she had great knowledge of Malaysia and a profound love for the Commonwealth.
Of course, Her Majesty was on the throne at the time of independence. So, yet again, we come back to the point that she is the constant factor throughout all of that. And before I came here as High Commissioner, I went to Buckingham Palace and I met her, which is the usual thing that heads of mission do. And it was very interesting to me that she spoke with great knowledge and great understanding of Malaysia. And that comes from that historical perspective that she has. She also had a profound love of the Commonwealth, and Malaysia, of course, being an incredibly important member of the Commonwealth. But of course, the UK and Malaysia have a wonderful, deep-rooted relationship that transcends any individuals, no matter how important. So I very much hope, of course, that His Majesty the King will at some point now come to Malaysia in his capacity as monarch.
With the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, the throne was passed immediately to her heir, Charles, the former Prince of Wales. Commenting on how this new era of monarchy would shape Britain and beyond is Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Munir Abdul Majid, Chairman of Cari ASEAN Research.
Prince Charles, now King Charles III, I think it trivializes if I said, with large sort of boots to fill, it's not just that, it's more than that. The enormity of his challenge that the Queen, the imprint that the Queen Elizabeth II has made, and Charles's own, sort of shakiness in terms of his, relationship with now the Queen Consort, and so there are so many, and his divorce with Princess Diana. So there are many things a little shaky about Charles compared to Queen Elizabeth II, but Charles himself has his own strengths. He is quite devoted to diversity of religions in the world. He has shown deep understanding and respect, for example, for Islam, the true Islam, and he is that kind of man, and people will especially in the Commonwealth, take to that kind of thing. He's also very deeply committed to sustainable development, biodiversity, preservation of the environment. Very, very, very devoted to it. There is some kind of fear that he might be too in your face, so to speak, and more insistent or on certain things that might be too interventionist. So I don't know whether he will change his character, once he become now that he's king. So whether he will be able to have that balance.
The death of Queen Elizabeth raises questions about the future of monarchy. Tan Sri Dr. Munir explains the role of the institution and its relevance in the 21st century.
The relevance of the monarchy was one to show continuity. Whilst, over 7 decades, you can show continuity where governments, prime ministers come and go. So it is a good foundation, the feeling of something always there. And I think that's one of the reasons why people feel so sad, she was always there. But then the monarch, to do that must be dignified, and be shown to have devotion to duty. And in a constitutional monarchy situation, without access, without trying to interfere, in executive work or judiciary or what have you. So, she was able to do that. Now, what is the point of it? Because on the other hand, people say, what's the cost, of the monarchy in England, and there's a lot of debates on that, especially now, because things are very bad for those in the lower down society in the UK, the working classes and so on. And this is one of the things which both the British government and the new British monarch, have to address.
In other news, declaring itself to be a nuclear weapon state, North Korea has passed a law enshrining the right to use preemptive nuclear strikes to protect itself. Leader Kim Jong-un called the decision irreversible and ruled out any talks of denuclearization.
Its parliament passed the law as a replacement to a 2013 law which first outlined the country's nuclear status. It originally stipulated that North Korea could use nuclear weapons to repel invasion or attack and make strikes in retaliation. The new law now goes beyond that, allowing the North's military to execute nuclear strikes if it detects an imminent attack aimed at its leadership. It also bans any sharing of nuclear arms or technology with other countries. Tensions on the Korean peninsula have spiked this year, with Pyongyang firing a record number of ballistic missiles. In response, South Korea and the US began its largest joint military exercises in years.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres arrived in Pakistan today to support its response to recent devastating floods. He is due to meet Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and visit inundated areas on his two-day trip.
The trip comes less than 2 weeks after the UN launched a $160 million emergency plan to help those affected by the floods. Guterres also appealed for massive support from the international community to assist Pakistan with the crisis. Record rains brought by what he described as a monsoon on steroids have left a third of the country underwater, an area the size of the UK. An estimated 33 million people have been affected by the floods, with over 1,300 dead. Officials say it will cost at least $10 billion to rebuild and repair damaged infrastructure.
The people of Pakistan are on the front line of the climate crisis, bearing the brunt of devastating floods. What is the world's responsibility towards them now? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guest about the disproportionate burden of climate catastrophes carried by the Global South. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. I'm Haye. Thank you for watching.